This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So the big news this morning.
We'll fly around the world to a secret destination. Where in the world is Matt Flower?
Ann B. Davis's bowling ball has tweeted out a sort of a variation on that. He suggests that they should do at the Today Show, where in the world was Matt Lauer's penis segments for Sweep Sweep?
Stop it. Clearly, it wasn't in his pants in Rio.
And
but,
what do we know about the sexual misconduct allegations?
That it happened to an NBC employee while they were away covering the Olympics in Rio, and that he's had consensual relationships with subordinates at NBC before, but this one was definitely not consensual. And it's not a sexual abuse, it's a sexual assault claim.
Allegation.
Right. And they got it on Monday and then decided to can him late last night. So this morning, everybody woke up, including his coworkers, to find out that Matt's not coming back ever.
And the question also, because it was included in the statement NBC released, the belief that there may be more allegations forthcoming, so trying to get out ahead of it. And you said before that the New York Times had been investigating some of the allegations as well. So we'll see where this goes. But we have to get on to things of geopolitical importance at present. Oh, you know, like a North Korean missile test and our interests in Asia and for stability in that region. And President Trump addressed that quarterly missile test by Kim Jong-un, but the next stage of progression with North Korea's nuclear program, an ICBM traveled for 50 minutes, landed off the coast of Japan, and sent our Japanese and South Korean allies scrambling, and the president saying this.
A missile was launched a little while ago from North Korea. I will only tell you that we will take care of it. We have General Mattis in the room with us, and we've had a long discussion on it. It is a situation that we will handle.
All right, so how are we going to handle it? For more on that question, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Colonel Cedric Leighton, CNN military analyst and security consultant who has previously served on both the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the National Security Council. Colonel Leighton, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Dan. Good to be with you this morning.
So how does what does handling it look like in your estimation?
Well, this is going to be a tough one because the options that we have are frankly limited. Yes, there are military options. There are certain things that can be done and certain things that probably are being done. But the most likely course is that the U.S. and its allies are going to stay the course with extra sanctions, with other efforts such as calling the UN Security Council into session to discuss this, things of that nature. Now, I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but the basic idea is this, that as the sanctions tighten against the North Korean regime, there's the hope that it's going to crumble from within, but that's going to be something that's going to take a real long time, if ever, to materialize. So the idea that this is going to be a quick fix, I think, is a mistake. It's going to take a while, and it's going to be something that will require a concerted effort by the U.S. and its allies, and also China and Russia. But China and Russia will clearly want to play their own game here and not necessarily follow the U.S. lead.
Well, there seems to be a cause for concern. I mean, in Hawaii, they're resuming their Cold War era nuclear siren tests. They had that out yesterday, and they're beginning those in December. So, this something must have been different from this ICBM compared to the last one that was fired. Do you know what that is?
Well, yes, absolutely, Amy. And the reason that we have this difference in the reaction from Hawaii state officials to revamp their Cold War siren system and alert system is basically this. This missile actually does have the capability to reach the continental United States, and Hawaii, of course, is on the way there. It's on a path, and it is probably a bit more likely that a North Korean missile would go after a base in Hawaii or Guam as opposed to actually trying to hit the U.S. However, that is the mainland U.S. But having said that, it really shows that the whole nuclear non-proliferation regime, where countries were basically put in certain boxes, they're nuclear powers, and then there's everybody else. Well, more and more countries are either seeking to join the nuclear club or they are joining the nuclear club. And this specific missile has a greater range. It has the capacity to carry a warhead. The question is, can the North Koreans actually put a miniaturized warhead on this missile? And they're certainly working toward that. If they do that, then not only Japan and Korea are at risk, South Korea, but also the rest of the world, frankly.
Yeah, but if they do that, I mean, it's not an if, is it? It's a when. And unless the sanctions crush the regime from within, which seems unlikely, or we take military action to effect regime change, which seems unlikely, you're talking about them on the trajectory towards nuclearization. And so the focus for America should be on missile defense. Is that fair?
I think it would be fair to say that missile defense is something that can certainly help protect us. It is not 100% foolproof. No defense system is, but we've certainly come a long way, since the 1980s, when this kind of a scheme was thought to be completely unworkable. It has its issues. There are some significant delays in implementing it, but there are missile defense batteries both in Alaska and in California, and they can actually protect us, a large portion of the United States, against incoming missiles, especially those from North Korea. The North really wants to be recognized as a nuclear power, and they're working their way toward at least de facto recognition of that fact, and that is something that will be a diplomatic game changer. At least it may not affect daily life here in the U.S. or in South Korea, but it could definitely have implications for our relationship with North Korea and our relationship with China and Russia as well.
So just the strategy that we're taking with North Korea shouldn't really change. You don't believe it's going to change. And the description of the combination of sanctions and coalition building with allies like the South Koreans and the Japanese, a recognition that North Korea is on this path. Is this an example of the principled realism that Trump suggests describe his foreign policy?
I think it is certainly a more realistic approach than what we've had in the past, and I think principled realism, it still needs to be fleshed out a bit in terms of what that really means. But if it means this kind of reaction toward the North Koreans, then it has a chance not only of working, but it also has a chance of setting the tone for U.S. foreign policy for the next decade or so, and that could be a significant change in the way we actually conduct business and the way we recognize reality on the ground as opposed to what we think reality should be, and that can be an important distinction. He
is Colonel Cedric Leighton, CNN military analyst and security consultant who has previously served on the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the National Security Council. Colonel Leighton, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
You bet, Dan. Anytime.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.